What if I told you that the moment you stop trying to be chased is the exact moment someone starts running toward you? Sounds backward, right? But think about it. How many times have you bent over backward to impress someone, only to end up feeling like you're the only one doing the work? If that's ever been you, stay with me, because what I'm about to share will completely shift the way you approach love in 2025. See, here's the truth. Attraction isn't built by constant availability or desperate pursuit. It's built by value, by the energy you bring when you know exactly who you are and what you deserve. In a world where dating apps, endless scrolling, and situationships are everywhere, you need a strategy that not only sparks interest, but also protects your self-worth. That's what we're talking about today. What makes someone truly magnetic isn't the way they look, the car they drive, or the smooth lines they say on a date. It's the quiet confidence of someone who knows their worth and refuses to settle for less than they deserve. When you lead with your standards instead of your insecurities, you stop sending the message that you're waiting for someone to decide if you're good enough. Instead, you begin to radiate the kind of self-assurance that naturally attracts people who are ready to match your energy. Think about this for a moment. Every time you bend your boundaries just to keep someone interested, agreeing to a casual situationship when you know you want commitment, tolerating cancelled plans without explanation, laughing off behavior that actually hurt you, you are silently teaching the other person how to treat you. You're showing them that your standards are negotiable. And when your standards are negotiable, so is your worth in their eyes. Leading with your standards isn't about arrogance or demanding perfection. It's about setting a tone for how you expect to be treated and holding steady when someone doesn't rise to meet it. Now, here's the truth that no one tells you. Insecurity is loud. It shows up in overthinking every text, in trying to impress someone by becoming who you think they want, in anxiously waiting for validation. And what happens when you lead with that? You attract people who feed off of that insecurity, people who take just enough to keep you hopeful, but never enough to truly invest. But when you flip the script, when you walk into every interaction thinking, I'm here to see if you fit into my world, not the other way around, the entire dynamic shifts. Suddenly, you're not chasing anyone. You're evaluating, observing, deciding if this person even deserves access to you. That shift in mindset is magnetic because it puts you in control of your own narrative. Standards are not about building walls. They're about building clarity. Clarity on what you want, what you deserve, and what behaviors are simply not acceptable in your life. Maybe your standard is that communication is consistent and honest. Maybe it's that effort is mutual, that you're not going to carry the emotional labor of planning every date or sending every first message. Maybe it's that you won't tolerate mixed signals or emotional games. When you articulate those standards to yourself first and then to others, you create an invisible line that separates the people who are serious from the ones who are just looking for convenience. But leading with standards is also about consistency. It's easy to say you want respect, but it's harder to enforce that boundary when someone attractive comes along and tests it. This is where the real work begins, because it requires you to confront your fear of loss. Setting a standard means being willing to walk away when someone doesn't meet it, even if you like them, even if you've already imagined a future with them. It's in those moments, those gut-wrenching moments of walking away, that you're teaching the world and yourself that you refuse to bargain with your value. And ironically, it's in those moments that people often rise to meet you, because respect grows when someone realizes you won't compromise your integrity for temporary attention. And here's the thing about the dating landscape today. Especially in 2025, the noise has never been louder. Social media, dating apps, endless options, they can make you feel like you need to lower your standards just to keep up. But that's exactly why standards matter now more than ever. When you know what you stand for, you filter out the noise. You stop wasting your time on situations that drain you and start focusing on connections that truly align with your values. Leading with standards also means showing up authentically. When you're clear on your worth, you don't feel the need to perform or pretend. You can show up on a date relaxed, curious, genuinely interested, but never desperate for approval. And people can feel that. They can sense when they're with someone who doesn't need validation to feel valuable. And that energy is irresistible because it's rare. This isn't about creating a checklist of demands. It's about knowing your non-negotiables and having the courage to live by them. It's about saying, this is who I am. This is what I need. And I'm not afraid to wait for someone who respects that. When you lead from that place, you stop asking, how do I make them want me? And start asking, are they even worth my time? And that simple shift is the foundation of real attraction. Because when you hold your standards high, you don't just teach others how to treat you. You teach yourself that you are someone worth showing up for. Consistency is the backbone of any real connection. And yet, it's the one thing people overlook the most when dating. Too often, someone gives you a spark of attention, maybe a late night text, a quick compliment, or a random plan that never follows through. And you treat it like it's gold. You find yourself thinking, maybe they're just busy, or they'll come around if I just show them how much I care. But here's the reality: when you reward inconsistency with your time, attention, and energy, you teach the other person that they can show up when it's convenient for them and still keep a place in your life. If you want to create healthy, lasting relationships in 2025, you have to stop rewarding inconsistency. Think of your energy as a currency. Every time you respond to someone who flakes on plans without explanation, every time you engage with someone who texts sporadically but never commits, you're making a withdrawal from your own self-respect account. And sooner or later, that account runs dry. People will only value what you consistently value, and if you don't value your time enough to protect it, no one else will. This doesn't mean you need to be cold or unkind. It simply means you need to create clear, calm boundaries around your expectations. If someone cancels a date at the last minute, you don't explode or spiral into overthinking. You simply acknowledge that behavior for what it is, a sign of where you stand on their priority list, and adjust your investment accordingly. Respect isn't about demanding perfection. It's about recognizing effort and consistency and understanding that interest without consistent action is just noise. The trap many people fall into is romanticizing potential. You see glimpses of who someone could be, the sweet messages when they're in the mood, the promises they make but never follow through on, and you hang on to that version of them hoping it will become their reality. But potential is meaningless without action. Inconsistency isn't a phase, it's a pattern. And the longer you excuse it, the deeper you entrench yourself in a dynamic where you're always the one waiting, hoping, and overcompensating. By removing your attention from inconsistent behavior, you create space for something better. You send a quiet but powerful message: my time is valuable, and I don't waste it on uncertainty. Imagine someone texting you after disappearing for days. Instead of rewarding that behavior with an eager reply, you take your time. You prioritize your schedule, your plans, your peace. When you stop giving instant access to people who treat you like an option, you reclaim control of the interaction. And more importantly, you build self-trust, the deep knowing that you will always show up for yourself, even if someone else doesn't. In today's dating culture, where attention spans are shorter and distractions are everywhere, consistency becomes the ultimate filter. It separates the ones who are serious from the ones who are just passing time. When you stop rewarding inconsistency, you automatically raise the bar for who gets to be in your orbit. The ones who are genuinely interested will step up. They'll put in the effort, make plans, follow through, and communicate clearly, because they recognize that access to your time is a privilege, not a guarantee. This isn't about playing games or making someone chase you. It's about clarity and self-respect. You're not withholding attention to manipulate someone. You're simply refusing to nurture connections that don't nurture you back. And the beauty of this approach is that it doesn't just protect your self-worth. It actually attracts the right kind of people. People who are consistent are drawn to others who value consistency. When you demonstrate through your actions that you don't entertain chaos, you naturally repel the ones who thrive on it. Here's the part that takes real courage: letting go of the fear that if you don't tolerate inconsistency, you'll end up alone. That fear keeps so many people trapped in situations where they're constantly questioning their worth. But the opposite is true. The moment you raise your standard and stick to it, You create space for someone who is ready, willing, and capable of showing up for you in the way you deserve. Consistency is about alignment. If someone says they like you but their actions don't match their words, that's misalignment. And instead of making excuses for them, you honor yourself enough to step back. This doesn't make you hard to get or too picky. It makes you someone who understands that love isn't built in moments of intensity, but in patterns of reliability. When you start filtering people through the lens of consistency, everything changes. You stop overanalyzing mixed signals because you understand that confusion itself is a signal, a sign that this connection isn't where it needs to be. You stop feeling the need to overcompensate for someone else's lack of effort because you know that real interest doesn't need to be chased. It's steady, intentional, and clear. And most importantly, you stop sacrificing your peace just to keep someone in your life because you finally realize that inconsistency isn't love. It's chaos disguised as connection. Imagine for a moment that your life is a house. Every room is filled with pieces of you, your passions, your dreams, your friendships, your routines, your ambitions. Now picture someone walking into that house. Do they find a place that's vibrant and alive, where they want to stay and invest, or do they find empty walls waiting for them to fill? This is what it means to invest so deeply in your own life that anyone who wants to be part of it sees your world as a privilege, not a rescue mission. When your happiness and fulfillment are built from within, their attention becomes a bonus, not your lifeline. One of the biggest mistakes people make in dating is putting their life on hold the moment someone shows interest. They cancel plans with friends to be available. They skip their gym session or their hobbies just in case a text comes through. They pour so much energy into being ready for someone else that they forget to keep building their own world. And what happens? They start to feel empty when the attention slows down because all of their happiness is now dependent on whether that person calls, texts, or makes an effort. That's not connection. That's attachment built on fear. When you invest in your own life, you create balance. Your calendar is filled with things that excite you, plans with friends, progress on your goals, moments where you show up for yourself. You build a life that is so rich and engaging that when someone new comes along, they're stepping into something that already has depth and value. It's the difference between being a blank canvas and being a masterpiece in progress. And people are drawn to people who are already in motion, who have momentum, because that energy is magnetic. This doesn't mean you shut people out or pretend you don't care. It means you understand that your fulfillment is your responsibility. The trips you want to take, the classes you want to try, the friendships you want to nurture. These things can't wait for someone else to join you. The more you build your life on your own terms, the more confident and grounded you become. And that confidence changes the way you show up in every interaction. You're no longer sitting across the table wondering if you're enough. You're wondering if this person adds value to the life you've already created. In 2025, where dating is faster, louder, and more chaotic than ever, this mindset is critical. The temptation to make someone your entire focus is stronger when everything moves at the speed of a swipe. But when you know who you are and what you're building, you won't feel the need to compromise your identity for attention. You won't rearrange your entire schedule for someone who hasn't shown you consistency. You'll continue showing up for your career, your passions, your friends, your growth, because you know that your value doesn't depend on whether someone chooses you. When your life is full, relationships become lighter and healthier because they're built on choice, not need. You're not clinging to someone out of fear of being alone. You're choosing to share your already fulfilling life with someone who complements it. That shift creates a dynamic of mutual respect. They're not trying to save you, and you're not trying to mold yourself into what you think they want. Instead, you're two whole people choosing to grow together because you want to, not because you have to. This level of self-investment also protects you from settling. When you have a strong sense of purpose and identity, you can spot misalignment quickly. Someone who brings drama, inconsistency, or chaos into your world doesn't feel like excitement. They feel like disruption. And because you've built a life that you genuinely enjoy, you're not afraid to walk away. That's the kind of quiet confidence that naturally commands respect. Here's the beautiful part: the more you pour into yourself, the more attractive you become, not because of how you look or what you have, but because of the energy you carry. Someone who is genuinely happy and engaged in their own life radiates a kind of calm strength that's rare. You don't have to chase anyone because your energy draws the right people in. They see the way you treat yourself, the way you prioritize your growth and your happiness, and they want to be part of that story. Investing in your own life also creates emotional resilience. When you have multiple sources of fulfillment, your work, your hobbies, your community, you don't collapse when one area of your life feels uncertain. If someone pulls away, it's disappointing, but it's not devastating because your sense of self was never built on their presence in the first place. That resilience allows you to navigate dating with more confidence and clarity because you're not operating from a place of fear or scarcity. So build your life like it's the most important relationship you'll ever have. Pour time, energy, and care into it. Learn new skills, deepen your friendships, travel, read, grow. When someone walks into your life, they should find a person who is already full of purpose and joy, because that's the version of you that won't settle for less than mutual effort, respect, and consistency. And that's the version of you that turns casual interest into lasting, meaningful connection. Confidence is quiet. It doesn't need to shout, play games, or manipulate situations to feel secure. And when it comes to building attraction, nothing is more powerful than calm, clear communication. The ability to express what you need, what you feel, and what you expect without desperation or fear changes everything about the way people respond to you. It's not about being cold or distant. It's about being grounded in your worth so deeply that you can speak your truth without trembling, without overthinking, and without apology. Think about how most people approach early connections. There's a subtle undercurrent of anxiety. You want to say the right thing, avoid scaring someone away, or keep them interested at all costs. So you downplay your needs, you stay quiet when something bothers you, or you hope they'll magically guess what you want without you ever saying a word. But here's the problem: unspoken needs don't disappear. They build up. They create resentment, confusion, and insecurity because you're not honoring your own boundaries. Calm confidence is the antidote to that cycle. When you can look someone in the eye and, without anger or drama, say, "I like you, but I need consistency," you immediately shift the dynamic. That sentence is simple, but it's powerful because it's clear and non-negotiable. It says, "I'm interested, but I'm not available for chaos." And people respond to that clarity. The right ones step up because they recognize that you're someone who knows what they deserve, and the wrong ones naturally fall away, saving you time, energy, and heart-itchy. Calm confidence isn't about rehearsed lines or strategies. It's about internal alignment. When you truly believe that your value isn't tied to someone else's reaction, you stop overanalyzing every interaction. You stop sending 3 different drafts of the same message to your friends for approval. You stop spiraling into self-doubt every time a text takes longer to arrive. Instead, you operate from a place of quiet assurance. If this person is meant for me, I don't need to perform for them. I just need to be clear, kind, and honest. The beauty of communicating with calm confidence is that it creates space for authentic connection. When you're no longer playing a role, people can actually see you, the real you. They don't just see the polished version you think they want. They see your humor, your quirks, your intelligence, your kindness. That authenticity is magnetic because it's rare in a world where so many are performing for attention. Being grounded and genuine stands out. This kind of communication also builds trust quickly. When you express your feelings openly, without anger or accusation, you teach the other person that you are safe to connect with. They don't have to guess what you're thinking or walk on eggshells trying to decode your signals. Instead, they know exactly where you stand, which makes it easier for them to show up authentically too. That's how strong, healthy connections are built, through clarity, not confusion. But here's the challenge: calm confidence requires courage. It means being willing to say, "This is what I need," knowing full well that the answer might be no. It means risking rejection, but understanding that rejection is just redirection towards someone more aligned with you. Most people avoid this level of honesty because they're afraid of losing someone. But the truth is, if honesty drives someone away, they were never really there to begin with. And wouldn't you rather find that out early than waste months or years pretending to be okay with less than you deserve? Communicating with calm confidence also teaches you emotional detachment in the healthiest way. It doesn't mean you stop caring, it means you stop clinging. You can enjoy someone's presence without making their validation the foundation of your self-esteem. You can express your boundaries and needs without fear because you know that whether they meet those needs or not, you will still be okay. That detachment creates an energy that's incredibly attractive because it signals strength, stability, and self-respect. Imagine you're in a situation where someone starts pulling away, their messages become inconsistent, or their effort fades. Without calm confidence, you might start overcompensating, texting more, chasing, trying to figure out what you did wrong. But with calm confidence, you simply step back. You don't send frantic messages or try to prove your worth. You observe their behavior, communicate your needs once, and if nothing changes, you walk away. That action alone communicates volumes that you value yourself too much to fight for someone who isn't choosing you. This mindset doesn't just make you more attractive, it protects your peace. It keeps you from getting stuck in cycles of confusion and mixed signals because you're not afraid to seek clarity. If something doesn't feel right, you speak up. If someone isn't meeting your needs, you address it. And if they still don't step up, you have the strength to let go without bitterness or drama. At its core, calm confidence is about self-trust. It's the quiet belief that no matter what happens, you will handle it. That belief frees you from the games, the guessing, and the desperation that so often plague modern dating. And when you approach every interaction with that energy, grounded, clear, and calm, you don't just attract people, you attract the right people. People who see your worth, who respect your standards, and who meet you with the same clarity and intentionality you bring to the table. Relationships thrive in balance. When you give and receive in equal measure, there's harmony, respect, and a natural flow that allows attraction to grow steadily. But too often, balance is replaced by overcompensation, by one person pouring in time, energy, and effort while the other gives the bare minimum. And the painful truth is that overcompensation rarely leads to deeper connection. Instead, it builds an unspoken dynamic where one person is chasing while the other is coasting. Matching effort doesn't mean withholding affection or playing games. It's not about keeping score or waiting 3 hours to reply to a message just to seem less available. It's about reading the reality of the situation and responding to it with self-respect. If someone is showing you consistent interest, if they make time to reach out, if they follow through on their words, then yes, meet that energy. Show them through your actions that you appreciate their effort and are willing to invest as well. Healthy relationships grow when both people are engaged, intentional, and contributing to the connection. The problem begins when you start doing all the work while telling yourself that if you just give a little more, they'll come around. Maybe you're always the one initiating plans, always the one checking in, always the one carrying the weight of keeping the connection alive. In those moments, you're sending a quiet signal that says, you don't need to invest more because I'll do it for both of us. And human nature being what it is, most people will settle into whatever dynamic you create. If you make it easy for someone to give you less, they often will. Balance in effort requires awareness and discipline. It asks you to step back and observe how the other person is showing up, not just in words, but in actions. Are they making plans, keeping their promises, showing genuine curiosity about your life? Or are they offering just enough to keep you engaged while never actually investing in the relationship? When you learn to mirror effort, you protect yourself from getting stuck in cycles of disappointment because you're no longer building castles in the air based on what you wish someone would give. You're responding to the reality of what they're actually offering. This doesn't mean you stop showing kindness, warmth, or generosity. It means you channel those qualities into connections where they're matched and reciprocated. When someone values you, you won't have to question their consistency. They'll show up because they want to, not because you reminded them to. And when they do, it becomes safe to invest more deeply because you're no longer running on assumptions. You're building on evidence. Matching effort also teaches you patience. It keeps you from rushing headlong into connections fueled by potential instead of reality. When you wait to see if someone's actions align with their words before giving them more of your time and energy, you're not being guarded. You're being intentional. You're saying, I value myself enough to make sure you're here for the right reasons, not just because I made it easy for you to stay. That patience creates space for the right people to reveal themselves, because real interest is steady, consistent, and unmistakable. There's also a deeper layer to this. Mirroring effort isn't just about how you interact with others, it's about how you interact with yourself. When you start practicing balance, you realize that your energy is valuable and finite. You stop pouring it into situations that drain you and start reserving it for people and experiences that fill you up. You stop chasing validation from people who treat you like an option because you've learned that your worth isn't up for negotiation. Think about how freeing it is to no longer question where you stand because you're simply responding to what's in front of you. If someone's effort grows, you naturally meet them there. If it fades, you don't try to force what isn't being freely given. You let the distance grow because you understand that a connection built on one-sided effort is never sustainable. And instead of internalizing their inconsistency as a reflection of your value, you see it for what it is, a sign that they aren't capable or willing to meet your energy. Healthy relationships aren't built in extremes, they're built in balance. They grow when both people are equally committed to nurturing the connection, when there's no fear of expressing interest, but also no desperation to keep something alive that isn't reciprocated. When you honor that balance, you create space for relationships that feel natural, steady, and mutual. And the most beautiful part, this approach doesn't just protect your heart, it amplifies your presence. When you operate from a place of balance, you radiate a quiet strength that says, I know what I bring, and I won't overextend myself to prove it. That energy draws in people who value reciprocity, people who want to build something real with you because they see that you're someone who knows their worth. Matching effort isn't just a dating principle, it's a reflection of self-respect. It's the way you teach the world that you are not here to beg for love. You are here to build it together with someone willing to meet you halfway. Self-worth is the foundation upon which every healthy relationship is built. It's not about ego, pride, or pretending you don't care. It's about truly knowing your value, even when someone else doesn't see it. When you operate from a place of self-worth, you stop chasing validation and start creating relationships that are based on mutual respect and genuine connection. The energy you carry changes everything because people can feel when you're grounded in yourself, and they respond to it. Think about the difference between walking into a room hoping someone notices you versus walking in already knowing you're enough, whether they notice or not. In the first scenario, your energy is seeking approval. You're scanning the room for cues. Are they interested? Are they paying attention? Did you say the right thing? But in the second scenario, there's calm. There's an ease that says, I like who I am, and whether you like me or not doesn't change that. That kind of presence is magnetic because it's rare in a world where so many are searching for external validation. Self-worth sets the pace in relationships because it defines what you will and will not tolerate. When you value yourself, you don't allow inconsistency to take root. You don't make excuses for someone's lack of effort or convince yourself to settle for scraps of attention. Instead, you look at their actions clearly and honestly and decide if they align with your standards. And if they don't, you walk away, not because you're cold, but because you understand that your peace is more important than someone else's potential. The challenge is that self-worth isn't built overnight. It's shaped by the choices you make every day, especially the ones you make when no one is watching. It's in the boundaries you keep with yourself, choosing to respect your time, investing in your growth, and surrounding yourself with people who uplift you rather than drain you. Every time you enforce those standards, you're reinforcing the message to yourself that you are valuable. And that message becomes the lens through which you approach every interaction. When you live from that place of grounded self-worth, you stop performing for love. You stop twisting yourself into someone you think they want. You stop agreeing to things that don't align with your values just to keep someone interested. Instead, you show up as you are, authentic, confident, and clear. And here's the beauty of that. It naturally filters out the people who aren't right for you. Someone who's looking for controlled chaos or games won't find room in your life because your boundaries won't allow it. The ones who stay, the ones who lean in, are the ones who see your value and want to rise to meet it. Self-worth also transforms the way you handle rejection or loss. When you don't see yourself as defined by someone else's attention, their decision to walk away doesn't shatter you. Does it hurt? Of course. But you understand that their inability to recognize your value has nothing to do with your actual worth. You don't spiral into self-blame or beg for another chance. Instead, you hold your head high and keep moving forward, knowing that someone else's inability to choose you says more about them than it does about you. That kind of resilience makes you unshakable because you're no longer at the mercy of someone else's opinion. The irony is that when you stop trying to prove your worth, that's when others start to notice it more. People are drawn to those who carry themselves with quiet confidence, who don't need constant reassurance to feel secure. It creates an effortless kind of attraction because your energy says, I know who I am and I'm not afraid to be myself. That doesn't mean you become unapproachable or arrogant. It means you create an inviting but grounded presence that draws the right people in while naturally repelling the ones who aren't ready to meet you where you are. Building that level of self-worth takes practice. It comes from keeping promises to yourself, from creating a life that excites you independent of anyone else, and from refusing to compromise your standards for temporary attention. It's in the little choices, the decision to walk away from mixed signals, to invest in your passions, to nurture relationships that feel mutual instead of one-sided. Over time, those choices build an unshakable foundation, one that makes you less likely to settle and more likely to attract the kind of love that matches your value. And when you're rooted in self-worth, the way you date shifts completely. You're no longer anxiously waiting to be chosen. You're choosing. You're evaluating. You're asking yourself, does this person add value to my life? Do they match the consistency, the respect, the energy that I bring to the table? That shift puts you in the driver's seat of your own love story, where you're no longer a passive participant hoping to be enough, but an active creator of the kind of connection you deserve. In the end, self-worth isn't about building walls or keeping people out. It's about knowing that you are whole and complete on your own, and that anyone who comes into your life should enhance it, not define it. When you carry that belief into your interactions, you naturally set the pace. You stop chasing. You stop settling. And you start attracting relationships that feel like a reflection of the love and respect you've already cultivated within yourself. At the heart of everything we've talked about, whether it's leading with your standards, refusing to reward inconsistency, building a life so fulfilling that attention becomes a bonus, communicating with calm confidence, matching effort, or standing firm in your self-worth, there's one simple truth: the love you attract will always mirror the love you have for yourself. When you stop chasing and start choosing, when you stop lowering your standards and start honoring them, you shift from hoping someone will see your value to knowing that the right person will never make you question it. This isn't about playing games or trying to outsmart anyone. It's about creating an energy that is clear, grounded, and magnetic. You become someone who doesn't need to prove their worth because it radiates in everything you do, in the way you carry yourself, the way you communicate, the way you live your life with purpose and joy. And when that's your starting point, you naturally draw in people who want to rise to meet you, not because they have to, but because your presence inspires it. In 2025 and beyond, dating doesn't have to feel like chaos or confusion. It can feel calm, intentional, and empowering when you decide that you will no longer abandon yourself just to be chosen by someone else. Love built on that foundation isn't about running, chasing, or convincing. It's about two whole people meeting in the middle, choosing each other every day and growing together because they both see the value in what they've found. The moment you choose to value yourself above all else, you stop asking, will they pick me? And start saying, Are they aligned with the life I'm building? That's when everything changes. That's when love stops feeling like a game and starts feeling like a natural, mutual connection, steady, secure, and real.